Well, we chose violence in Mexico as our conflict, and this is really important not only to the country but to the rest of the countries, to the neighbors, for example, United States or even the rest of the world, because the number of drug-related homicides keeps increasing over the years. And last year there was a 50% increase from the previous year, and more than 130 candidates and politicians were murdered. So this affects other countries that are close to Mexico, but also to Mexico, and it of course generates discontent among the population. And so I wanted to talk about the importance.
Okay, so we think that they are five main actors of the conflict of violence in Mexico. We think that the first one is the government because they aren't doing the work they should do. They don't assure security in the streets to all the citizens and security in every place. Why? We think that they take incorrect decisions. For example, the employees in security, for example, in police or military. And also, we think that the laws aren't the fair and the correct one to protect all the citizens. So, we think the government is the main actor of this conflict, and we are sure that if we had a good government, this violence would be better. As a second main actor, we have the people that works in security, for example, the police and the military. Unfortunately, they aren't doing correctly their work. Their work should be protect all citizens and eradicate the violence. Unfortunately, most of the times they are the ones who create it. So we think that if we had the real security, for example, in other countries like USA, that we don't have corruption in the security people, we will be much better because the violence is almost all of the times bring by them. As a third actor, we have the citizens. Unfortunately, economy it's a conflict very difficult in Mexico. We are a country with many poor people, so many of those poor people decide to go by the easy way and start to work in not legal places, for example, drug dealers or distillers from the house, stuff like that. So we think that the citizens are also a main actor, and if they receive the equal opportunities, the one from the poor people, or if they have a good education, we could eradicate this problem. Why? Because now they will have equal opportunities and they will try to have a fair future and not a future going by the easy way like drugs. As a fourth actor, we have the immigrants. Unfortunately, as we have seen in history, people that come from other countries bring their problems also. So we could see, and we had plenty of examples like the Los Mara Salvatrucha or many other drug dealers from Colombia that the only thing that bring to Mexico were conflict, problems, and violence. I'm not saying that all the immigrants are the problem, but unfortunately, some and plenty of them bring lots of violence, war, among other things. Last but not least, we think that the fifth actor are the other countries that influence Mexico by ideas or maybe by products. For example, by ideas, we have many countries like USA that brings new ideas so people start differing among themselves and the relation has been affected thanks to those ideas. And by products, we can see like for example Colombia or Honduras. Colombia by bringing us plenty of drugs that goes around all the country, and that there are plenty of carteles that takes many thousand of lives per year. And we also have Honduras that brings us people that maybe, yes, some are trying to have equal opportunities and fair opportunities, but there are many others that will bring conflicts and will dedicate to drugs or to steal houses, many other countries. So yes, we think, yes, the other countries help us economically, but also affect us by plenty other ways.
The main reasons why Mexico has had a lot of violence recently is that police are in short supply. The government security agency says that Mexico has around half of the police it needs right now, and most of them are being corrupted. Another very important point is that gangs have fragmented and moved into new areas. Since the crackdown on cartels began, new and many important drugs kingpins have been arrested, leaving gangs to fight among themselves and causing and generating a lot of wars inside Mexico. Lots of journalists are being killed, and this is caused by some social political circumstances. Political killings have also shot up with 130 politicians, including 48 candidates for office. Another important reason why Mexico is suffering so much violence has to do with the weak government and the decisions and choices that are being taken by the president. He wants to create a new national guard, keeping soldiers and mariners permanently involved in policing. This is not going to work and not going to be very efficient since soldiers are not trained to do what police do, and police are not trained to use army level weapons against gangs. It could cause a lot of violations of human rights, and the violence in Mexico can keep increasing. Mexico has seen ever growing bloodshed since 2006 when President Felipe Calderon deployed the Mexican armed forces to fight drug cartels. And rather than reducing violence, the government's crackdown actually increased conflicts between and among cartels. According to my research on criminal violence and numerous other studies, it also led to widespread military abuses of power against civilians.
Well, for consequences of violence in Mexico in political terms, well, now that the violence affects like everyone, you know, um, votes are getting, presidents are getting elected because of the inaccuracy or because other governments the past governments are inaccurate in terms of security. So the basically our destiny is told by the violence. Another consequence is that politicians ally with these drug dealers and and thieves because they are the ones who have the power, and of course everyone wants like a lot of power. In social terms, well, it is obvious like you cannot go out at night due to the violence, like to party, to any club or something. Another consequence is that these clubs these clubs and bars won't open anymore unless they're allied with the drug dealers, because if a new club opens and it goes well for them, drug dealers may um, terrify them with the derecho de piso, and well, of course they don't want to pay anything for that. Um, and well, yeah, this another consequence is that it makes people want guns, because if the police don't defend us, who will? So we need to defend ourselves. So in terms of economy, well, it goes like in hand with what I said before, that no one wants to open new businesses because because of the derecho de piso, and so the economy in the state or country, well, it doesn't upgrade, it stays there. And well, and that's one, no one would want to invest in a country or state that economy is like not growing. That's the second. Another consequence it could be that like businesses are not growing, or its economy isn't growing. Well, of course the unemployment rate will grow, or at least they will fire a lot of employees. And of course those employees, like, they don't have anything else to do, they will now go to the drug dealing chain or enterprise or the cartels.
Mexican culture has a huge impact all over the world, but it is mainly a mainstream that is represented across Latin America. This means that many countries, such as the Caribbean islands, Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, and some other, copy a lot of factors from Mexico. An action by which, as a result, is brought about that violence in our country can be spread on some others, since it is a role model to many cultures. I believe that the change starts in ourselves, and that way the other countries will see it as an example to copy and accomplish.
Well, the first suggestion that I would make is establishing truth commissions, and these type of commissions have been established since the Ayotzinapa case, and that they aim to create like a collective narrative of the human rights. And recent studies actually suggest that truth commissions can actually help prevent future crimes, because they identify the perpetrators and who then face punishment for their crimes. So the second suggestion or solution would be not pardoning or sentencing crimes, but like in a low level, because recently López Obrador proposed an amnesty to non-violent low-level drug offenders, and there are other people, for example the Secretary of Governance, who says that pardoning people convicted keeps the country from growing, because then they get out really easily, and it just keeps the country from growing and from changing its political situation. So higher sentences should be established, and less corruption, of course. There are a lot of suggestions that we can make, but these two are actually proven strategies that have actually helped in other countries and in other situations.